Hello, and welcome to the user layer breakdown session. My name is Alvaro Galatas, and I will be hosting this session. We're joined today by four vendors with leading technology on this high growth market. So today we have Jason Wyatt from Audio Codes, Joris van der Linde from Infoblox, Jonas van der Kuyk from Poly, and Julio Valpuesta from Broadcom, former Symantec. So, since we have a very packed agenda, we're going to start right away. Please make use of the chat part of the screen on your right to ask any questions. If we can't answer those questions right away, we will follow up with you directly after the event. So we're ready to start. Jason, all yours.
Still backstage. There we go. Okay, and how do I? There we go. Right. So, hi guys. I hope you're enjoying the first day of WestCon Imagine 2022. It actually seems like events are few and far between. So this is really great that we've got the opportunity to talk to you and to update you on what's been going on. So I'm Jay Wyatt. I'm a UC consultant at Audio Codes, and I've been in the IT world for I think about 27 years, which actually makes me feel really quite old now. And for the last 10 years, I've been predominantly focused on Microsoft UC solutions. So starting with Link and then on to Skype for Business and now obviously Teams. So today what I want to do, I want to share some great information with you and really talk to you about kind of adding value to Microsoft Teams beyond just the voice connectivity piece. So with that, let's crack on and go on to my first slide. Okay, so unlike I think many of my presentations that I've done in the past, I normally start with kind of an overview of Audio Codes and where we're at and what we're doing. But really, I want to just go straight into the meat of this presentation, and I want to share some information, with you that I recently read on a Microsoft website, and actually at the bottom of this slide, and hopefully we'll share the slides with you afterwards. To actual page that you can go to actually find this information, because I think there's also some really great information there if you're not actually providing Microsoft Teams already. So, I always enjoy kind of reading statistics, and it kind of really helps me to kind of open my eyes and really realize what's going on in the industry. And it's kind of no surprise that and I think it's largely due to obviously the pandemic that Microsoft announced recently they've got 270 million monthly active users. And I mean, that's a phenomenal amount of users. I mean, let's kind of compare that to the 30 million they had before, the pandemic. I mean, it's a huge increase in 2 years. It is again kind of with no surprise that Gartner also announced recently that 40% of all telephonic purchases will be unified communications by 2023. Now, that's next year, guys. Gartner normally do like a 5-year prediction of what's going to go on. And I think, Microsoft is one thing, but when we look at the other UC solutions that are out there, Zoom, Cisco WebEx have put huge amounts of funding into their platforms. I think a prediction of 40%, I think that's quite conservative. I think the number is going to be much, much greater than that. But there's actually, reading the top line of sort of statistics here, 45% of employees use social tools at work. I think, most businesses, if they're only aware that employees have been using social tools at work, they need to really open their eyes, because I'm aware that ever since we've started with Messenger and WhatsApp, employees were using that prior to using, the tools that we've got now. But the ones that I really want to kind of focus on are that 72% of employees work remotely. Now, that's kind of not really surprising, given that we've all had to work at some point over the last couple of years from home. Me personally, I seem to have worked pretty much permanently from home. I've attended a couple of events in person when we haven't had lockdown, which was kind of great. It's almost like, you know, shaking up a pop bottle and releasing the lid. You know, you're like, wait, you know, talking to people. So, you know, is it a trend that's going to stop? Well, not from what we're seeing. We're still seeing a lot of organizations heavily investing in new meeting room solutions, new meeting room technology. They're still heavily investing in devices for home users. So I think that's, you know, there will be some that will return to work, but I think there's going to be a lot more hot desking, and I think employees will still continue to have the benefit of working from home and having that better work home, you know, life kind of balance. And then the other statistic here is that 4 times electronic devices per user. And when I first saw it, I thought four devices, but then actually, I've got 2 mobile phones. They've both got Teams on them. I've got my laptop, I've got my MacBook, I've got my PC. You know, I've got a desk phone, so it's no surprise. I mean, that's just me. I was have 6 devices, 7 devices, and I do use them all. So it's actually not really that surprising. You know, there's that many kind of devices. So, you know, from the numbers that we're seeing, there is huge demand for UC as a service. Okay, the drivers for change are, you know, really clear. Okay, and you know, the global pandemic really illustrated the benefits that unified communications as a service really brought to many organizations. You know, the growing adoption of mobility, being able to work from any location, mostly from home, but the potential that, you know, you've also got wrapped up into the UC as a service solution, you know, your business continuity, you've and kind of backup solution for communications. It's all sort of wrapped into that one kind of solution. The whole, you know, collaborative capabilities you've got with UC as a service, you know, it's no surprise that you know, it's a growing business area. So if you're not already doing this, this is something that you really need to look into and invest in within your organization, because it's not going away. And actually, a lot of your traditional, I want to say, telecom vendors, you know, I can think of a couple, and one recently disbanded their whole cloud operation because they've kind of realized that it's not a play that they can win. So, you know, the world is changing, the playing field is changing, and, you know, everybody needs to kind of get on board with that. So just to kind of reiterate really from my first slide about Microsoft announcing earlier this year the 270 million monthly active users. Well, what that statistic doesn't really tell us is what those users are actually doing with, you know, with Microsoft Teams. They could just be using it for peer-to-peer voice, peer-to-peer video. So I kind of looked into this a little bit more, and actually 30% of those 270 million monthly active users have actually bought a Microsoft phone system license. And for those that don't know, Microsoft phone system is the Microsoft in the cloud PBX. Okay, you've got to have that to have sort of breakout with your telephony. So, you know, I mean, it's still a phenomenal number of users. It's still a phenomenal amount of people using Teams in a kind of enterprise way to replace their or I say replace, but either to replace or work alongside their existing phone system. You know, but it still kind of represents, you know, something like 190 million monthly active users that are still using Teams for peer-to-peer video, peer-to-peer calls. They still haven't actually put enterprise telephony in place. So for you guys, for you know, there's a huge potential here to get, you know, work with those customers, help them, provide a managed service to them, provide additional devices, provide additional you know, applications and features. So you know, my point here is that, you know, there's still a huge opportunity out there. Recently I was talking to a partner, and they said, look, with 270 million active users, where's the opportunity for us? And I said, it's just, you've got to look at what they're actually using it for. 190 million users that don't use Microsoft Teams for its full capabilities. That's a huge opportunity. So, the way that we see Microsoft Teams, it's a great UC platform, and off the shelf, it's fully capable of making peer-to-peer video, as I've said, peer-to-peer voice calls. Additionally, obviously the collaboration functions are incredible. However, I think for many organizations to really adopt Microsoft Teams as their primary communication solution, we really need to fill in the gaps. Okay, we need to look at what they're doing now, how they work, how they kind of interact, and what functionality they need. Are there existing integrations that are required? Do they need to coexist with their legacy PBX, etc.? You get the idea. There's also contact center solutions. Most big organizations that have quite complex PBX environments, they also have this huge integration with a contact center solution. So all of these things kind of need to be kind of carefully thought through, and that whole kind of discovery and planning phase needs to happen. I think what my goal is here is to show you how to kind of fill in those gaps with audio code solutions, together with kind of your knowledge, okay, your expertise, and our solutions. We can truly provide, an end-to-end solution for Microsoft Teams. So all of these things that you see on this screen, you can get in one service, and that comes under the AudioCodes One Voice family, which also includes the AudioCodes Live managed services, which I'll talk about a bit further on in my slides. So I'm not going to go through each of these, and like I said, hopefully afterwards you'll be able to get hold of these slides, and and you can actually look at all these solutions on the AudioCodes website. Now, I didn't really want to talk about kind of connectivity or direct routing, hence why I said, I want to talk to you about adding value beyond the voice connectivity piece. But really, because our SBCs underpin voice connectivity, I thought, I'd mention that just recently there was a poll, and 75 to 80% of all Teams traffic globally comes through AudioCodes SBCs. And I think there's some real sort of attributes here that make our SBCs kind of stand head and shoulders above our kind of competitors. And it doesn't really matter which UC platform you're working with. All of our products work with them today. You've also got, one thing for me when I'm using a device, there's nothing worse than having kind of different interfaces or different applications that you need to get used to from one device to another. With all of the AudioCodes SBCs and gateway devices, the actual portal, the UI is completely the same across all of the devices, whether they're virtual or physical. You get the same environment. So from an engineering perspective, it's much easier to be able to use our devices, because it's very familiar. It doesn't matter which one you're using. So there's some real good attributes to using the AudioCodes SBC family of devices. Now, I didn't really want to talk to you about handsets today. And I'm sure you get handsets sort of run down your throat every day when you're talking to sort of other vendors, and talking to suppliers, whatever. But it's a very important subject, and whilst certain vendors would have you believe that handsets are dead and nobody's going to use them and everybody's going to go over to headsets, we're actually seeing a complete reversal in the adoption of devices. And I think, again, falling back onto the global pandemic, I think that's had a huge impact in that, because and I was talking to a friend at Jabra, and he said, people are still buying headsets, clearly, but they're very much a personal device. And at least with a desk phone, whether you give it to an employee to work from home or they're using it in an office environment, it can be cleaned, it can be sanitized, it can be reused and repurposed. So it still makes great sense to actually buy, a desk phone device. And I said, we're still seeing huge demand. I mean, just recently, I was approached by Microsoft because, they had a particular need in an industrial environment, and the problem was that in those kind of environments, industrial, medical, warehousing, they have to wear gloves. So the use case is that they need a phone that has buttons, but it needs to be a Microsoft Teams certified device. And actually, we as vendors kind of all thought everybody wants the latest all singing, all dancing touchscreen devices, where in fact there's still huge demand for phones that have still got buttons because of these different verticals. So it's still really kind of important to understand, and as part of your kind of planning and development stages, to understand like the user personas that you've got within an organization, because there will be devices which are aligned to particular user personas, but it doesn't always follow, because there might be a specific use case that says somebody would need a particular type of device. Some with obviously audio codes, we have actually added additional devices to our range. We've got the C470 HD, the C435, which is the small sort of not touch screen, smaller device with buttons. Okay, it's important to differentiate between the two. And we've got some newer devices coming out shortly with the latest Android OS. So yeah, some really exciting things happening on the sort of phones front. Okay, and obviously something else that may come as a surprise to you, we've added to the meeting room space. I know we had the RX50, the speakerphone device. Then we brought out the RXV80. Now we've got the RXV100. We're bringing out more and more MTR devices, more Android-based devices to really boost the meeting room solution. And whilst meeting rooms, I think, is quite a specialist area, and traditionally it's been catered for by large kind of AV type companies. Because we're seeing this change in the way that people are working, and we've kind of got this hybrid working, with some people working from home, some people working for small satellite offices, some people still working from the main kind of office. That whole environment is changed. People want smaller devices, smaller meeting rooms. Okay, so no longer do you need to have multiple microphones and lots of different 360-degree cameras. Just simply a screen on the wall with a single bar device that's perhaps Wi-Fi enabled, got the microphones built into it. That's great for kind of a small meeting space which holds 4 to 6 people maybe. So we're kind of seeing this evolution in those kind of meeting spaces and meeting room requirements. And I think one of the nice things about a lot of the audio code solutions that we provide for meeting spaces is that you can actually kind of mix and match and cherry pick the different devices to actually suit your requirements. So I think from a partner perspective, there's again a real opportunity here for you to really add value to the solutions that you're providing to your customers. You don't need to be an AV specialist to set up an RXV80 as an example. It's a Microsoft Teams certified Android device with its own client on board, and it's super easy to set up. So some of the other areas which really kind of improve the whole usability and user experience of Microsoft Teams is actually adding some of the applications that we provide. And you may already be aware of some of these, like SmartTap 360. It's been with us a little while, but we've put huge investment into SmartTap, and it is now again a Microsoft certified, Microsoft Teams certified call recording or compliance recording application. Okay, and I would say I'd be highly surprised if there wasn't an organization who didn't have some kind of recording requirement. So this is something that you can just bolt onto the back of Microsoft Teams and again add value. Conversational IVR. Now you do get an IVR included within the Microsoft Teams Admin Center, but it's quite limited. The conversational IVR that we provide, you can set it up within literally 5 minutes. Okay, it's so simplistic and so easy to use. Meeting Insights is another application that really adds value and improves productivity within any organization, because more and more we're getting dragged into, I say dragged, that's awful, isn't it? We get invited into meetings, and we can sit there and we can write notes, or we can use OneNote or some kind of electronic notebook to write down all the information that we think is relevant to us. But we're actually missing out on a lot of the real good information within that meeting. So Meeting Insights is a voice AI bot which you invite along to the meeting. It will take notes, action points, it will record, it will do the transcription, it will send a link to everybody that attended the meeting and to those that couldn't attend the meeting. I've been hurried along here. So it's a great application. If you want to know more information about any of our applications, please let me know afterwards, and I'll be more than happy to talk to you about them. Okay, so two other things I want to talk to you about, and I'm running out of time really fast, is live Teams and live cloud for service providers, and this is you guys, okay? So live Teams is a fully managed solution that's provided by Audio Codes, and it's done on a referral basis. So if you've got a customer, hypothetically, that is it maybe a global customer, but you look after one office in your region, then you can work with us, and we can then provide live Teams to that customer through you as a referral, okay, and support that customer on your behalf, okay, at a global level. Live cloud for service providers. This is either direct routing as a service or Operator Connect, which Microsoft is still yet to. They've actually pushed the announcement back for the sort of Operator Connect platforms by a month. But it allows you to build out your own direct routing as a service solution, either so that you can provide direct routing as a service to your customers, or that you can provide direct routing as a service to perhaps a reseller community that you may have you may have your own partners. So the two great platforms that allow you to kind of use all of the Audio Code solutions, wrap your own, you put your own service wrap around them, and deliver that out as a service to your customers or to your own reseller community. I have one more slide, but I'm going to actually jump forward and say thank you ever so much for listening to me today. I did kind of waffle on a couple of things, but hopefully it's been beneficial. If you've got any questions, please take it up with either my team through the Westcon Imagine 2022 booth. We've got the virtual booth, or reach out to me directly. Thank you ever so much.
Thank you very much, Jason. Great presentation, and yeah, without any further delay, because the time is very, very tight, we're going to present now Joris van der Linde, who is from Infoblox. I hope I pronounced it correctly. So yeah,
almost.
All yours. Almost.
Okay.
Thank you. All yours.
No worries there. Well, good afternoon. Welcome to Infoblox. My name is Joris van der Linde. I'm cybersecurity specialist for Benelux, Nordics, and Baltics at Infoblox. I've been in cybersecurity sales for more than 20 years already, so I know my way around. Today, I'm going to teach you about how to secure devices everywhere using DNS. For many people, DNS is an unknown security control. So this is what I will walk you through today, the threats that we currently see, and probably you will recognize them. The attack via DNS process and how to secure DNS. Okay, number one threat. It's been after 2 years of COVID-related threats, which we're all a little bit tired of. We're now seeing a dramatic increase in Ukraine-related threats. Analysis of DNS traffic has shown a dramatic increase in Ukraine-related domains. Between February 24 and 28, we've seen twice as many new domains than in the week prior to the Russian invasion. They can be legitimate domains like the list you see here. This is one of the examples of a legitimate fundraising website, the Ukraine Decentralized Autonomous Organization. There's also a lot of parked domains, so we are not entirely sure yet what they will be used for good or for bad. There's also a lot of domains that we see designed to deliver malware, crypto scams, to steal personal information, credit cards, or to deliver phishing emails. And this is a couple of examples of cryptocurrency scam websites and a fake fundraising website that we discovered. Threat number 2, which we still see a lot, is lookalike domains. So for those of you who don't know what a lookalike domain is, that's a nearly identical, slightly altered domain name registered just with the purpose to deceive. So twitter.com with a W is going to be replaced with Twitter with 2 V's, and they just hope that the people clicking on links don't see that the domain name is not what it's supposed to be. Lookalike domains are being used to target customers via mobile messages, social media, phishing emails to deliver malware. They can also be used to impersonate vendors or business partners of a company to trick the employees into clicking a malicious link with the typical goal to compromise a network. So a vendor or business partner can be the local gym that has a contract with a company for the employees to go to the gym. Third threat, and this is rather unknown, is data exfiltration over DNS. So typically DNS is not being monitored by the security stack. The traffic is not encrypted, so it's being sent in clear text to the DNS server, which means the security stack is not looking for maliciousness in DNS. So we have seen a couple of attackers to start to migrate their communications over DNS. As an example, compromised devices are being hit with malware, and then they communicate with the command and control server over DNS. Again, this is typically not monitored by the security stack. Then the malware looks for sensitive data on the device. That can be spreadsheets, passwords, credit card numbers, again, network attached storage. It grabs the sensitive data, and in the next phase, the data is being sent to command and control server or other areas where the data should go by DNS tunneling. So this is an example I tried myself a couple of days ago. This is a list with, well, in this case, fake credit card numbers that's being encrypted and then sent out to a location just via DNS. So you'll see that it's just saying, hey, domain not found, and that is actually hiding credit card numbers. So this can take ages before the data is out there, but nobody knows. So if you have time, this is an excellent way to get data out. So when we look at it from an attacker versus defender perspective, it's fair to say that the attackers typically have the advantage. This is well, all they need to do. They need to extract the data and collect the bitcoins, to say it fairly easy. But defenders have many more tasks to do than just defending the network. They need to sit in meetings, do training, other corporate stuff, hire people, train people, deal with noise that the SIEM is creating, prioritize events without sometimes knowing what event to prioritize. Respond to incidents, talk to vendors like us. It's a long list. It's not just defending the network. And to make things even worse, hackers are pretty well organized nowadays. They often work in virtual teams that are put together specifically for an attack. This is actually the org chart for the Conti ransomware group. You'll see they have developers, pen testers, intelligence people to collect open source intelligence. They even have an HR department. So this is actually from the leaked Conti data. Another example, some of you might be familiar with the MITRE ATT&CK framework. This is a list of adversary tactics and techniques that hackers use to break into a company. This is the list for Sandworm, the organization responsible for hacking into the Ukraine power grid in 2015, and NotPetya. So all the blue boxes are the tactics and techniques they use to breach a company. Obviously, other threat actors use other techniques to hack into companies. Then defense is obviously short of people. They expect in 3 years there will be a shortage of 3.5 million cybersecurity experts to help companies defend themselves against hackers. And then to make things even worse is traditional security is just not stopping them. I don't know any company that has been hacked the past years that didn't have a firewall or antivirus or other security controls. And I always like to quote my former CEO at Mandiant, Kevin Mandia. He once said, while testifying, well, we do 600 red teams per year and a firewall never stopped one of them. If he couldn't break into the firewall, then they would find a back door. For those of you who don't know what a red team is, it's like pen testing to the max with a group of ethical hackers and social engineers who test an organization's defenses. His colleague, George Kurtz from CrowdStrike, sort of agrees with Kevin Mandia. He once said that firewalls are a speed bump on the information superhighway. They do help, but are insufficient. So, well, too bad for the customer. And then one of the things that I come across a lot is companies who say, well, we have a SIEM, so we're safe. Well, the SIEM is, in many cases, just a device that creates a lot of noise, thousands of alerts a day, and people just don't know which alert to prioritize. Another model we like to use at Mandiant was the cybersecurity maturity model. I've been using this a lot. Bottom left are basic security controls that everybody uses. Small companies typically have a firewall, maybe built in with a router. They have antivirus running, and sometimes maybe they do a little more. And top right is what mature companies do, like the bigger banks, defense, big companies, they do proactive threat hunting. And all the security controls that you can add to that are somewhere between antivirus and APT hunting. But looking at it, when I joined Infoblox, I noticed something which we didn't know at the Mandiant days, and that was that something was missing from this model, which is DNS. Looking at it from a communications perspective is that many or most security controls that people have out there need DNS to communicate with each other or with the SIEM. So that makes DNS a very important network communications protocol. And it can also be used as a very strong defensive security control, because DNS is being used in almost all communications. You could say that it's the glue that connects all the pieces. DNS data gives a lot of important answers, such as who's on my network, where did they get in, which obviously is a very important question to answer when you're the CISO of a company who has been hacked. But also, where have they been? Where are they going? DNS can be used as a very powerful weapon that can help a customer block bad domains. And currently, we can block 45 million plus full qualified domain names in a fully automated way. So to protect our customers, you could say that DNS will help customers to conduct business in a hostile environment. Another model that most of you might know, the Lockheed Martin cyber kill chain. And here's the same. The most of the steps an attacker needs DNS to achieve their goal, because an attack cannot take place without communicating to systems. So if there was a way to block all malicious DNS traffic, then life would be much harder for an attacker and much easier for the defender. Next step is, to demonstrate why DNS is so important for an attacker, I'm going to review the typical steps that threats take when entering an organization's network to infect systems. So for this purpose, I am oversimplifying the attack steps because there is obviously other security controls in a network. but I don't want to make things too complex here. So starting point of most attacks is often when a user navigates to a malicious website or downloads malicious files. Typically, users get tricked into clicking on a link through a phishing email, spear phishing, or social engineering. Once the user clicks the link, the system will send a DNS request to the local DNS system, asking for the IP address of the hosting domain. Once the DNS system receives the query, it will send the IP address back to the client. In this example, the website is an internet location with the IP address 2345. So when the user system receives the IP address for the destination, it will initiate a connection to that location. The connection will be established with the destination passing through the network infrastructure, such as the firewall. And like I said before, this is typically clear text, generic DNS traffic, which the firewall will not see as malicious. So most commonly, this will be a connection to a website through port 80. So in this example, the intended destination has malicious payloads included in the content. This could be the result of an attacker compromising a legitimate website, or it could be a fake website that they built to look like a legitimate website to trick people to click on links again. So once the connection is made with the destination, the content is downloaded. In this case, the content is transmitted to the user's device, like a typical web page. In this case, it also contains malicious payloads. Of course, other security controls might sometimes detect that malicious traffic is going through the network and block it. Endpoint security, the firewall, IDS, IPS. But in this case, to keep it simple, it doesn't. So here's the final stage of the device becoming compromised with the payload. It could be malware, ransomware, or another type of attack. Let's do it again. At this time, we will see how DNS-based security can provide protection from these attacks. So the steps are exactly the same as in the previous example. The user is tricked into clicking on a link. The user device sends a request to the DNS server asking for the IP address, same IP address 2345. But in this case, the DNS server is connected to the Blox1 threat defense cloud. That can be used with Infoblox DNS. For those of you who don't know, 50% of the DNS market is using Infoblox DNS, but also with third-party DNS systems like Microsoft. So customers don't need to be an Infoblox customer already to be able to use this. Once the DNS system receives the DNS lookup from the client, it will forward the request to Blox1 Threat Defense, asking it to evaluate the destination. You'll see that threat intelligence knows that the requested destination is known bad. So as I said before, we currently block 45 million fully qualified domain names. After evaluating the request, identifying that the destination is known to be malicious, a policy will be implemented. It can be a couple of things. It could be just responding to the device saying, I got 5 minutes left, seeing in the corner of my eye. The policy could respond to the device that, hey, there is no such destination, just so ignoring the website and saying, well, you can't go there. Stop the device from going any further. Or it could be provide an IP address for an internal portal telling the user that the domain was bad and therefore not accessible. In either case, the device will not go to the website. So as you see in this example, the traditional security stack, not just the firewall, but also IDS, IPS, endpoint security, whatever they use, will be offloaded. So the quality of the events on the scene will improve. And also it's much better, of course, to prevent an attack from happening in the first place instead of trying to catch the malware on the endpoint once it's already gone through the firewall. Blox1 Threat Defense, or B1TD as we like to call it, protects against malicious DNS requests. It will give visibility in what clients are doing because the client's IP address is given to them from the Infoblox cloud, regardless where they are. It will identify the source of communications. It can also automatically respond to events, such as start a vulnerability scanner. So once the machine is switched on, the vulnerability scanner will immediately kick in. And it will protect users everywhere. It doesn't matter whether they're in the office, at home, in trains, at the airport, or on the moon, for that matter, because the IP address is always being given to them by Infoblox. It blocks malicious traffic and emails, command and control traffic, ransomware communications, malware downloads, compromised OT and IoT devices, also typically devices where you cannot install an agent. Again, blocking communications means that malware cannot be downloaded on the network, which offloads firewall, IPS, IDS, and endpoint security. And sometimes it always also means that the companies need less licenses for Splunk or their firewall. I'm not going to discuss this one in detail. There's 3 pillars of blocks from threat defense. To protect users from malware, advanced threats, and DNS attacks. There's just no time to go deeper into this, so that's why we have planned a follow-up webinar on May 4. In that webinar, we will also teach you how to make your existing security services better when using this. For instance, where you offer SOC SIEM to customers or incident response. It makes investigations much easier. Finally, we're not the only security vendor out there. Today, you might have a lot of presentations from security vendors. Our customers as well, they have Cisco, Zscaler, F5, Checkpoint, Palo Alto, Splunk, Microsoft. Important to know is that we don't compete with them. We don't offer a competing solution, but this can be added to make this existing security ecosystem better. We are not replacing the firewall. We're not replacing the SIEM or the XDR. We just help them reduce the noise so that the quality of the events in the SIEM get better, and which results then in the entire ecosystem performing much better. So what's next? I can wrap up. Yes, thank you. What's next? This is the final slide. There's a couple of things that you can do, and well, I would like to ask you to do. Obviously, discuss this with your customers. Many of our customers already use DNS software from Infoblox, but in many cases, the network department bought the solution and they don't give this data to the security department. This is low-hanging fruit. If you can show the security department of your customer that they have free information from the network department, they will thank you forever. And selling blocks from threat defense could be the next step. Then next week, we're hosting a webinar. It's not an Infoblox webinar. We're just hosting it to help people, to help the security community to protect themselves against threats from Russia by using open source DNS firewall. You could run that at home on a Raspberry Pi, for instance. So for personal interest, you could also watch this. On April 12th, we have a training on DNS security, a little bit of threat intelligence, how DNS is leveraged in phishing campaigns, how malware uses DNS over HTTPS. And on May 4, we do the WestCon follow-up webinar, Improve Your Security Services with DNS. Like I said, this is the follow-up to this one. And finally, shoot me an email if you have questions or if you need my help to sell this to your customer. And you can meet my colleagues in our virtual booth. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Joris. We're going to give the microphone to Julio Valpuesta from Broadcom. Also, we can also say Symantec. Hi,
Okay.
Julio.
Hello, how are you?
Good, thank you.
Thank you, Alvaro, for introducing me. I'm Julio Valpuesta. I am solution engineer here in Broadcom. I am based in Madrid, in Spain. I have been working in security for a long time, like my mates. I worked in a partner like you. Also, I work in a distributor, and now I am in a vendor. With this, I want to say that I know your position. I know what are you thinking right now. I am here to try to help you. Okay. At the end of the session, I am going to let you my contact, and if you want, if you have any question, please contact me, and I am going to try to help you. Okay. The agenda for today is this one. I want to talk about the situation that we are living right now. It's about the customer that you have or the user that work from home and they need to get access to the resource of the company. I am going to try to explain the problem that we have and then how Symantec can help you in this situation in the safe and simple way possible. Then I want to show you how is our solution from Symantec, from the Secure Access Cloud. And finally, if we have time, but I think that maybe not, we are going to have a Q&A slot. But like I say, if you have any question, you can send me an email. Okay. So let's go to start. First, like I said, we have some problems, some challenge that we need to solve when we talk about the people who work from home. Like you know, with this situation, with the after or with the this situation with the pandemic, we have a new era. For example, in my situation, changed totally. Right now, I only have to go to the office 1 day or 2 days in a week if I want. I think that my situation is really similar in your customer because the people prefer to work in from home. The executive and the users and the employer say the same. You can see in the picture in the study, and also if we check with the human resource leader and the CFO, the people with the money and the power in the company say the same. Say that this new workforce are going to be with us for a long time in the future. So we need to keep this in mind and be prepared to this new situation. The second problem, or the second challenge that we have to solve here is about the digital transformation that we are living in right now. Also, I think that all your clients are living with this transformation. The architecture of the company changed totally. Like if I just about to today, the first change that we have is the user. Like I say, we don't have the typical user right now. We have different type of user who have to connect in from the different place, different location, from home, from office, from wherever, and also they use different type of device. They maybe use a phone, a manage device, whatever, and all of them always want to have a really good experience. They want to get access to the resource, really simple, easy, and safe if we can. So we have to try to give them this a good user experience. Then, if we look the IT or the IT department or the security department, we lost totally the visibility and the control of that we have before with the perimeter. We don't know who is trying to connect to the application, to the resource of the company. We don't know where is the location of the user. We don't know also with which the device is connecting, and all of this produce that we reduce the security in the company. Also, we have to increase here the complexity of the architecture of the company. So we need to help this department, these IT guys. And finally, something that we have with the transformation, the digital transformation, the environment of the company, like I say, is changed totally. Now we have the application, we have the information from the company in different locations. We can have, for example, I don't know, the mail server in the change in a data center, or maybe we can put the mail in the cloud. We have different locations with different defense. All of this improve or increase the cost of the technology of the architecture of the company. So we need to help also to the customer to try to download this. So if we with this two problem that we have, the digital transformation and the new era, the new situation with the home from work, from home, if we still using the traditional architecture like this one, it is make more problem also. So if, for example, the people who the user work from home or they want to navigate by internet, we have to redirect all the traffic to the main office, and then they are going to go out to internet or to the application that we have in the cloud. All of this produce that the architecture really is a disaster. The network is the architecture because it's not scalable. The cost of course of the company increase, so we need to change that. Also, if the user need to get access to different type of application from IaaS like SaaS or personal accounts like I don't know Gmail or OneDrive, whatever, if they are going to connect it, they are going to have a really bad experience because we are going to put more latency in the network. If we want to improve the network connection, we have to pay for that. We have to increase the cost of network. So this make, like I say, a disaster in the technology, in the architecture of a network. Also, if we put the problem that we have right now in security, like the threat, like the data loss, the use of personal device to work, we add more things, more problem in this architecture. And if you talk with the customer, when you talk about the digital transformation, they expect something easy to deploy. They expect something scalable, fast. And if we show this architecture with the traditional architecture, they are going to say that they don't want to to move to the cloud. So we need to change this the model. If we still using, when I talk to traditional architecture, I talk about the VPN, the firewalls. Like Jason said, there we have some problems with the firewall, with this type of solution. If the user have to work from home and they need to get access to the resource of the company, they have to be install the VPN, they have to the agent, make login there, and then they have access to the resource. This type of technology could be a little bit old and inefficient. I want to show the problem that we have here with this type of solution. The first one is the complexity of this type of solution. First, we have to deploy a different type of agent in the endpoint. If the user is working from home, try to deploy a agent is really difficult. Then if we want to deploy a different policy, also is difficult too. And if the user want to continue working from, I don't know, have a problem in the managed device, they have to change to unmanaged device. They have to install a new endpoint, and this make, like I said in the beginning, a really bad user experience. So they don't want. We need to change that. Also, the secure of this type of solution is not really good because we are an attacker and we are going to get access to the corporate network. We can have with lateral movement, we can have all the results from the company really easy. So we need something more safe here. And finally, this type of solution also could be a little bit expensive. We have to pay for all the type of licensing that we have, and also we have to maintain all the product, the architecture, like the appliance, all of this. So we need to pay all this. So, like I said before, we need a new model here, and this thing that I said is not something that I invent or my company say. It's something that people more intelligent than me say. People who work in Gartner say this thing that we need a new model. This new model is that we know like SASE. I know that all the vendors are talking about the SASE, and so I don't want to bore you to talking more about the SASE. Only say that this new model is integration that two different worlds, the network and the cloud, and try to integrate in the same architecture. Okay. This new SASE, this SASE world is have different type of component. You can see here the more important for us. You can see here the DLP, the CASB, the secure web gateway, and also you can see here that I want to focus today is the CTNA, the zero trust network access. Okay, this is the responsible to give access to the internal resource to the users. Okay. If I want to talk about this solution, I have to explain what is Zero Trust. Zero Trust is a concept that we have in security for a long time, but in this new model is a basic and is really main. These concepts say that we don't have to trust in anyone. We only have to check the identity of the user. We have to check also the compliance of the device, and also we can check where the user is trying to get to get access. For example, if people who work from human resource, they are going to have access to the application to human resource. If the user working in another department, like I don't know, financials, they are going to have access to another application. Okay. Also here is important when the relation between the user and the resource is created, check the behavior of the user. If the user is doing something strange, we can block or we can log out, whatever we want. Okay, it's important before to say to explain this concept. So we know the environment, we know the problem that we have, the challenge, and how we can solve it. And for this, I want to show the product that we have in Symantec. Is called Secure Access Cloud. It's based in Zero Trust, and this is a broker between the user and the application that we have. The user could be a different type of user. We can cover a user who work from home, from the managed device, from unmanaged device, worker like a like I don't know, like partner like you, and they need to connect to the application. So we can check all, we can cover all this type of user, and then also we can check all the type of resource that we have, the resource. If the resource is in the cloud, is in on-premise, in the CPD, whatever we have, we can cover all this type of resource. Also, we can check if the user is working. We can also cover all this without any type of agent or any type of VPN. Okay, we don't need something, nothing here. Also, we can check if the user is trying to connect to another application that they don't need. Okay, we can limit the access to the users. So if we compare both technology, both architecture, the traditional and the new one, we can check here the difference. When we use the traditional architecture, when the user want to get access to the resource, we are going to create a direct connectivity direction, a direct a direct connection between the user and the resource. Okay, the VPN and the firewall work like a checkpoint that if the user have access, they can get access to the resource of the company. But if we see the new architecture, the secure access cloud architecture, you can see that the difference is the direction of the arrow. We don't going to create a direct connection between the user and the application. We are going to be, like I say, like a broker between us, between the both solution, the application and the users. Okay, let's go to see how this work. On the left of the slide, you can see the potential user that we have in any company, in any of your customer. We can see that we have a employer, we have a contractor working from different type of device. And on the right, we can see the different type of resource that we have in the company. Could be reside in different type, could be in the cloud, could be in a CPD, on-premise, whatever. Okay. To deploy our solution, we need to deploy a light connector in each subnetwork, in each site that we have. I am going to try to explain. For example, if we have two CPD, one in London, one here in Madrid, we have to deploy in each one a connector. Okay. Also, if we have, I don't know, in our application or a file in the cloud, in a public cloud, if we want to connect, also we have to deploy one in the cloud. Okay, we can deploy this connector wherever you want. One thing that I don't say before, that this connector using only the outbound traffic. So the customer, if we were here, we can block all the incoming port in the firewall here. So basically, make the application invisible to anyone who is not authenticated in the Secure Access Cloud. Okay, we can put in the darkness these all type of solutions. So if the user, when the user need to get access to the corporate resource, they are first authenticated and validated in Secure Access Cloud. Okay, and then is when we are going to create a bidirectional connection between the user and the application. This connection is created in the layer 7, in application layer, not in network. Okay, something really important. From the user experience perspective, everything works as the same, but now they don't have a direct connection established between the user and the application, and they don't need to get access to all the resource of the company. They only have access to the resource that I want. Okay, so here we get something. If we use this solution, we get something. We get first that we are going to create to integrate with the application layer, not with the network. Then we are like I said in the beginning, a broker between the user and the resource of the company. So here we can check all the behavior of who is trying to connecting, which device is connecting, and put all of this in the monitor and in the logs of the user. So we get again all the visibility and the control. Like I say, if we use the Secure Access Cloud, we are going to get again the visibility and the control that we lost when the perimeter disappeared. We are going to check all the policy to know who is trying to connect and also the behavior of the user. Then the second that we have is the security. We are going to add security to the environment because, like I say, we are going to use layer 7, the application layer. without the network, if we don't use the network layer, we don't have to be worried about the network attack in that case. And finally, something that is really good, and I don't say before that we don't need any type of agent. So if we have or we want to deploy this solution, is really easy. So we don't have any impact in the business of your company on the customer, and also it's transparent to the user. They don't know that they don't have access to all the resources of the company. Okay. So I'm going to be a little bit more technical. I'm going to show you how is the different integration that we have with the solution. First one, we have integration with the different identity provider to know who is trying to connect into our solution. We can integrate with Okta, with Azure, with LED API, also with Hangel. We can integrate with all of this. Then when the different type of site connector that we can deploy in different places, in different locations. We can deploy in Linux, in Windows, in Kubernetes, in Dockers. Then we have different type of application that we can integrate. We can integrate with LDP, with SSH, with TCP, with a web application. And also we are working with a new one. It's a custom application. So for example, if your company or your customer have a file server, we can integrate all of this. Okay. Then we have two different types of policy, access and the activity. With the access, we can check who is trying to connect to the application. For example, we can base it in the user group. If we have some user group, we can give access, allow to access or not. Also, we can put a conditional like the location of the user, like if the user is working from a managed device. And also we can check if the user have some certificate or the user need a multi-factor solution. Also, we can create the activity policy to check the.
Hi, Jonas. Just 1 second. Sorry, Julio. Just 1 second. If you can wrap up because we are past the time. So.
Sorry.
Just in a minute or two.
Okay. This is the last slide.
Thank you.
So we can check the activity policy. We can check if the user is trying to download the file from a managed device and allow or deny all of this. Okay. Like I said, this is the last slide. We have also integration with via IP, so we can integrate with different type, with different CMs or whatever we want. And this is all. Okay. Thank you for your time. Like I say, you have here my contact. So if you have any question, you can send me a mail or drop a line, and I can try to help you. Okay.
Great. Thanks a lot, Julio. And yeah, we're going to give the way to Jonas van der Kijg from Poly. Hi, Jonas.
Hello, everybody. Hi, Alvaro. Yes, hello, everybody, and welcome to the Poly Playground here at the Poly office in Hoofddorp in the Netherlands, just outside Amsterdam. I'm Jonas van der Kijg, and I am the Experience and Demonstration Manager here for the office. And I'm coming to you live here from my expo in the office, where I have all those beautiful products from Poly that can help you also to enhance your Microsoft Teams meeting. Now, you think that Poly might be quite a young company. And in fact, in theory, that is also absolutely true. Poly only established 3 years ago, but the legacy we have with Plantronics and Polycom that formed Poly, we have more than 85 years of experience when it comes to audio and video. As a recognition, the first word spoken on the moon by Neil Armstrong was actually spoken in a former Plantronics headset. So we are already on the moon as well, actually. Today, I'm going to show you a little bit about the product and absolutely more really about the features that can help you make the best of your equipment and your meetings. So coming to, for example, a video bar all-in-one like this, you can see that I'm fully aware, fully visible, audible. But when I come back like this, it might be a bit of a challenge to really see my face, right? So if I then, for example, were to put on a speaker tracking, the camera will automatically then focus in on me like this. And when I'm moving around, the camera will actually also follow me to make sure that I am centered here within And that is one of the features that is built in. You can, of course, also put it to a so-called group framing so that everybody in the room is being visible here in the meeting. But as you can see, I am all alone, and all my imaginary friends here that I created, they're not visible on screen, I'm afraid. But that is for you in your meeting rooms. As we also have, of course, is a lot of features that are built in here also when it comes to audio that we are very proud of and we have built in. For example, you always have this disturbance in a meeting where somebody is clicking on a keyboard. I'm going to turn off this tracking actually right now because otherwise you will be almost seasick. Sorry about that. There we go. So there you would have, for example, somebody clicking, clacking on their keyboard. Somebody's phone is ringing. There are all kinds of disturbance. Not sure if you can see, but here in this room, I have a large air conditioning that is making a lot of humming and bumming, but you can't hear it because there is a noise block AI built into this video bar that actually filters out anything else than human voice. So if I applaud you like this, you will not be able to hear that, even though you were meant to be, because of that noise block filtering out. And even if I talk at the same time, you will not be able to hear the clapping. And the clapping is harder than my voice for your recognition, right? So further on, if now this disturbance were to be human voice, then you can use something called an acoustic fence. And to demonstrate that, I will have to turn the tracking on again. And the acoustic fence creates a border, like a peripheral invisible border from where this microphone are picking up sound. So when I move to the side here, the camera will. And if I come back into the fence again, you will be able to hear me. So in the fence and out of, you will not be able to hear anything. So imagine this in your meeting rooms where you have open meeting plans, you have thin walls, people are having discussions in the corridors. This is the feature that you're then looking for to create your privacy and focus in your meeting. If you were with us in the beginning of this show, Jay talked about people coming back to the office, and we are coming back to the office, but we're also choosing to stay a lot on other places. So 75%, almost 3/4 of all people will actually work for more spaces than office. So the office will be the place where people come to meet, but not necessarily where they come to work. So for that, of course, we have created from Poly also a lot of personal devices. So what I'm going to do now is actually I'm going to step out of this camera and go over to another seat where I have this rig for you all together. So I will be right back. So here we are again. And this is a far too common view that we have nowadays, right? People are using their personal laptop to do their meetings and also using the integrated camera, speakers, and microphone. And of course, what you see here is me almost hovering over the computer to be able to look at my screen and see you to see me at the same time. I mean, like, my double chins, I want to keep them to myself, please. So I'm gonna look into that to have a change. Also, the light that comes is terrible. You also hear the sound. The sound is anything but what you really would like here. And I'm actually gonna do this a little bit worse for you guys now, because I am here in Hoofddorp, and that is very close to the airport. And now we are actually allowed to travel again. So let's go to the airport here. And then we can also, use that experience. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to play some extra sound now on my fabulous Poly Sync 20 speakerphone here to actually give you some airport noise. And that means sometimes on the high, you need to also take calls there. And you hear it all together right now. It's impossible to hear what I'm about because of the noise on the airport. But luckily, I have my Voyager Focus 2 headset. And if I turn that on and actually move over this microphone to the headset, you will be able to hear me without any sort of disturbance. You can see that it's still playing, but you can't hear anything because of the microphone has a noise cancellation and acoustic fence. The same features that we just had on that bar that I was showing you. So that is one thing that you can do. I could now also, of course, choose to use my fantastic P5 camera, that is a directional camera, so that I can get very much more clearance and also not be having to looking down on you. But since I'm actually on a fixed position, I'm going to move over to my P15 bar instead here with the audio. Sorry, with the camera, of course. So we can actually then leave skip all and come back into the office where I will use my P15 bar instead. So what you will see now directly is that I can talk to you guys on eye level instead, right? And because of this bar that looks like this, has an integrated camera, speakers, and microphone, I can actually swap the microphone over to this bar instead, and then I won't have to use my headset at all. So if I now move over to the P15 bar here, the microphone will be picking up from the actual bar. I can remove my headset so that I can talk to you here. And these are all then Microsoft Teams certified equipment that we use here. And that's why we also get a very good feeling. You saw also a lot of light coming in here. There's a lot of windows, but due to the backlight compensation that is built into all those cameras, you would still see me in a very good natural light with correct colors as well, right? So there is a little bit of a shadow coming in, but that is very, very limited. And this device actually also have that sort of tracking abilities and also acoustic fence built in. So the P15 would be perfect for your home position where you have perhaps kids coming in going like, mommy, mommy, daddy, daddy, and they will not be heard because you are on a poly product with an acoustic fence. So we are the manufacturer today that has the most Microsoft Teams certified products on the market. And there is a headset, there is a poly product for any situation that you can have to actually benefit the sound and the audio of your Teams meetings. We can invite you here to the office. We can invite you both physically, but also virtually to do a tour with me or with my colleagues. So if you're interested in that, tailored to your needs, just reach out to your contacts within Westcon and we'll make that happen as well. Good. Over to you, Alvaro.
Yeah, let me unmute myself. Yeah, thanks a lot for your presentation. We've been identified with the situations, all of us, because they're very common. So yeah, thanks a lot. It was very dynamic and nice to see.
Thank you very much.
Yeah. So well, now it's time to wrap up. It's just to follow up on these meetings. Feel free to reach out to our virtual booths where we will have. You can dig deeper on any information that you may need from any vendor. There you have chats. You can download content. You have links to specific solutions. So remember that. Also remember that there is a treasure hunt. So the more you explore on our booths, the higher your chances are to win a next generation smartphone. And also, if you want to go deeper with the solutions presented today, you can check out our Imagine Realized agenda with different sessions in the following weeks, as Infoblox was mentioning in the presentation. And now the agenda just continues back in the auditorium with the Regional Partner Awards. So thank you very much to all of you, and I'll see you back in the auditorium. Bye-bye. Thanks.